Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Strat Gamer here, providing with the new Anno 1800 episode. And today we're looking at Enbesa. This is a series to get as many investors as possible, of course, using skyscrapers, but not using the Dockland. And that is quite important because it will also explain why we're using Enbesa in this way. But yeah, before we dive in, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. It really helps. And otherwise, what are we going to cover today? We're going to cover first, why am I using Enbesa and for what? Then we're going to review, of course, this island, production, overall the items, why I'm doing some things, in a way that you may not be used to. And then I'll quickly touch upon, the next plans for Enbesa. Okay, so let's dive in. And why are we using Enbesa? Well, Enbesa for a record of investor is pretty useless because the investors, even at skyscraper level, don't need any of the, let's say, Enbesa specific production. They don't need goat, milk, they don't need pipes and all those type of things that we actually did need for the scholars run. So my previous series, if you have missed it, where I have more than 3 million scholars, this obviously needed Enbesa a lot, but for investors, we don't need them for these productions. So you could use Enbesa for two things. One is just population, you increase a bit your population by putting as many shepherds and elders as you can on the map. You'll definitely get some numbers, but you'll get a number way lower, or let's say the density of population is way lower than your scholars or your skyscrapers. So it's not, it's not the best use of space compared to space in, putting, let's say, one house in Enbesa versus putting one house in the old world. It's definitely different. What Enbesa is going for it's that the population tiers, what they need is actually pretty easy to make. So that helps with the density, but it's definitely not all of it. And the second thing you can use Enbesa for is to actually produce those things, but use items to get byproducts, which will be useful. So, you can produce a lot of goat, like milk, like I'm doing here, 106 on this island, for example, buildings, but I'm not going to use the gold milk. I'm just going to use a byproduct that's there. Now, why did I choose this one is that while I could put population here, as I said, the density is a bit lower. And because I'm not using Dockland, I actually need all of the space I can get in the old world and especially in the new world. I really need all of the space there. So I can't, waste any of the space over there. And therefore, it's best to use this region, not for a bit of population, it's basically, I think if you cover it, it's probably something like, I don't know, 100,000 max, which is nothing when you're thinking about millions of investors. But to actually produce things I don't want to produce elsewhere. So now let's look at what am I actually producing. I am producing tallow, cotton, gold, and ethanol. These are the key, let's say, that's what I want. This is why I'm doing it. Then, of course, on top of this, I am producing other things like timber, goat, Teff, and Lobster. And actually, you can also see it here is I'm only producing these four. So the four I said at the bottom, so timber, the Teff, the goat, and the Lobster. Because if I were producing anything else, I would see it here, but I don't. And so that means that the things I actually want, which is those four things here, I'm getting as byproducts. And that's also why the numbers are obviously lower. For example, if you see here, 49, 46, when, these things is almost 80, more than 500, 200. And this one is actually something else, is I'm producing it and using it on the island. We're going to look at that. So now, how are we doing that? Obviously, we're doing that with items. So let's look a bit at those items. To get a good overview, let's look at the finance here. Go to administration, and you can see I have 4 Arbor Masters, 1 Town Hall, and 29 trade unions. So that's obviously the big one, but the Arbor Masters office are also important. You can see I have these items there. In trade unions, you're gonna see basically 4 types of items. This one is for the irrigation. Then this one we're gonna see, there's this group, all these trade unions are getting the same thing. Then there are all these trade unions with these people, and then a few trade unions with these people here. So let's go one by one. The first one I want to show you is the Lobster. So Lobster going at 315 productivity, meaning 19 seconds to produce. So we need, because there's only 2 Lobster in storage, you need a lot of warehouses. Otherwise it will stall for sure. And as you can see, we're getting quite a few items on top of also the productivity working conditions. And that's thanks to the Arbor Master's office. They're here, there, with those 3 items: Captain Moby for the tallow and gold, Mother of Pearl for the tallow, and Veteran Whaler for the tallow too. So all of these producing great tallow and gold, and on top of it, all of the all of these lobsters are also covered by trade unions with these items to get some productivity and to reduce the workforce. So the least workforce I have, the least population I need. So that's definitely a good one. Then, so that was the first one, which will produce a lot of lobster that I'm just going to drop in the ocean, and then a lot of tallow and gold from it. Then very quickly, why are we producing some Teff? And as you can see, my production of Teff is pretty much perfect. So I need 20, I'm producing 20, and really close. So that's obviously on purpose, because this is used in all of the silos. So you can see all of these goat farms have silos that are using the Teff. And so I'm also I've also put the Teff a bit everywhere. There's some here, some there, some there, some there, and there, so that it doesn't even go into warehouses. It is just delivered directly to the farms. It's not perfect. Some of them were just too far. But that's something good to try. Integrated value chain, so that you don't need to use as many warehouses. As you can see, I already have tons of them, because as we said, here is producing quite quickly, 19 seconds, with only 2 lobster in storage. Similarly for the goats, milk, it's only 2 of storage. So that goes at 400%, 15 seconds. So that's super quick to get full. So now let's indeed move to those goat farms. As you can see it pretty much everywhere on the island. They're not all perfect in terms of the coverage of irrigation, but pretty much. I mean, you can see here 350, 375, and 400. 400 is basically the most of them are at 400, but not all. Is my point. If we look here, you can see they are not exactly all, but many are at 400. 400, look, all of these are at 400. The majority at 400, but not all, because sometimes it's just very hard to get efficiently to cover with irrigation. You can, so Fox also posted a great video where he's showing that for his island, it was very structured. It's just exactly the same, always straight. But I found that especially in those corners, in those pieces here, all of there, while the perfect thing like this here works quite well when you have a lot of space, as soon as you have a bit less space and strange corners, you have to get a bit creative. So that's why it takes quite a bit of time to get it right everywhere. But yeah, we're getting to 400 almost everywhere, thanks to the base productivity, the silo, the irrigation, the working condition, and then some items. So let's take a quick look at the items. You won't find a goat farm that's not covered by a trade union because we're only using them for their byproducts, right? We're only using them to make ethanol thanks to this item. So if somebody is not covered by a trade union, it's basically useless to me. So as I said, I mean, this one definitely good to get the ethanol. It works for all drinks production. So also many people are doing it with their schnapps production in the old world. But as I said, I need all of the space I can get from the old world, and I'm not using Dockland, so I would need to actually put a lot of potato farms and things like this. So that doesn't work for me. But this one, and then I'm using those two items. Why those two items? Because I want to reduce once again the workforce as much as possible. This one will give me 30% productivity and minus 60 workforce, and this one minus 50 workforce, and which means that each of them only has 3 shepherds, which is really little because by default they got 30, and this item here increases by 20%, right? So I mean, basically here I'm getting 60 and 50, so minus 110 plus 20, so I'm just getting minus 90% basically, which is really good because then, to cover this whole island, I only need this small patch of population. This is nothing. This is nothing, and therefore they will almost need nothing also in terms of, I mean, the goat is obviously being produced on site, but they will only need just a bit of finery, just a bit of dry meat, and just a bit of hibiscus tea. I'm giving the tea to make sure we stay in really good positive in positive happiness. I think they are 35 because there's a festival going on. And why do I need them to be quite happy? Because I'm pushing all of this to plus 50%, which is minus 30. But yeah, if we look into the consumption tab, you can see they need 0 of everything. So I mean, obviously it's not 0, it's 0.5, for example, or 0.3, but it's really nothing. And that's also why I'm not making it on the island, because as soon as you make on the island, you're gonna make 2. Like you're gonna make way more than what's needed, and therefore that's not optimized for me. It's a lot better to have, for example, either here in the middle or this small island where I'll produce, for example, 10 of each and then drive it or deliver it around. Especially because given that we're doing an investor record, we don't need, we're gonna have tons of influence. So I can have a lot of ships, that's not a problem at all. So that was the goat farms. As you can see, it's not that easy, but it definitely helps to keep a bit that structure, let's say, of having the road in the middle, having them on both sides with sort of 2 lines of your modules, and then running the canals around. I am using those 3 items here to increase the irrigation capacity as much as possible. I'm actually not using fully this one, but I think I'm using almost fully the 3 other one. Get to 1000 because this one is connected to those 2. So that's why the capacity is basically shared. So that was the goat, and then the last one is the timber, which is both here and also there, hidden there. So let's start with this one here. This one is the classic clip. Some people would say cheat, but basically, you have 2 trade unions here that are clipping these ones are woodcutter. So you get so many items with forest density increase that you don't need any forest, and just there's 1 tree here and that's enough. So that's one way to produce timber, and of course we're doing it to produce cotton. And then the second way, which is, let's say, more the normal way here, is just to cram as many as you can. So how many do I have here? 3, 6, 9. I have 9 on this one, and on that one 3. I have 8 on this one because there's a bit less of plus they share here the forest. The item I'm using are actually Miss Rodriguez here, once again for the cotton, and then those two to increase the forest density as much as possible. This one gives less productivity than Ursula, but better forest density, and therefore you can put more of them, and therefore higher production overall. Then how do you know how many you can put? I mean, honestly, in Enbesa, where let's say the terrain is not that, I mean, of course, if I put it here in the middle, then that's easy because I have a lot of space. But here, as you see this one, for example, is not getting any forest here. You can see 73, so you may be thinking, oh, why 73? That's not great. Well, that's a bit of a trial and error. Is you put, let's say, you start in a corner. For example, you put one there. It's gonna be the first, when you put it, it's gonna be 100%. Then you start putting a few other, and what you're gonna do is you're sort of always going to check your production here. You want that production to increase every time you put one more, and so that's how I got to 46. Because now if I put one anywhere, of course you usually want also to put them pretty close to a road, because you're gonna need a road, and that's gonna take space. But let's say, for the sake of it, let's just put it anywhere like this. Now, is it more than 46? No, it decreased to 45 because I'm cannibalizing. Versus if I destroy anywhere, it should also decrease. So for example, I mean, right now, once again, oh, that's not normal. Went to 44. That decreased the wrong one. What happened? I in something bad. What is happening? I think the game didn't really register that the space is empty again. That's very strange. I need to replant some trees. Okay, we're back at 46. Okay, it was just also maybe the speed is not high. But if I destroyed any, so for example, I destroyed this one, we see that now we're decreasing. So that means indeed it was good to put this one, even if you'll see that by putting this one, I reduce all of this to less, right? Even this one only to 56. And without it is 77. With it, it is 56. But on top of that, I'm getting 70 here, basically. So, sort of the trade-off is good that we increase from 45 to 46. But yeah, so that's pretty much how you optimize there. And then lastly, as you can see here, I have still a bit of space. There is just this corner here that's empty. I'm keeping it for now until sort of the end, when I'll be ready to do the final optimization, and maybe I'll see that I need a bit more population, or I need a bit more, maybe I can put the production of all my finery, I'll put it there, I don't know, I'll see at the end, to optimize fully. But already, I mean, this is a pretty good island, pretty happy about it, with 100 of ethanol, 50 tallow, almost 50 cotton, and 10 gold. That's pretty good. And yeah, of course, we need a number of boats to just take, the goat milk and just drop it on the island next. Right now, I've just put basic, cargo ships. I will, of course, slowly but surely move into extravaganza steamers with the right items so that I need less ships and all of this. But as we said, this is not really the problem because we have a lot of influence. When I see that something broke, I probably my skyscraper island is probably missing some goods there. But yeah, that was the first Enbesa island, and then before we finish, just a quick element on the plan for Enbesa. Obviously, we need to replicate a bit this island a few times. The next one I'm gonna do is probably this one. It's an island that looks really good. That's 4. So the same number here. So we should be able to get also to 100 or even more, because these ones are also easy to connect. That way you get the full capacity easily, and it's also pretty flat and big. So I think we're going to be able to make good use of it. I will of course continue also doing the lobster and all of this. There's good space here and there. So yeah, that's the next one. We'll do it also probably on a few others, but then as I said, I also will very quickly, I haven't decided yet if I do it either on this one in the middle, and this was old, right? This was just when I unlocked the scholars, but either on this island or maybe on this one, because it's a bit small and it's in the corner, to make the production needed, and in particular the finery and the dry meat and the viscous tea. So maybe I'll do it here and then just send it everywhere in the empire for just the few populations that we have like here. So it is, ladies and gents. Hope you liked this episode. Don't hesitate to tell me if you did in the comments below by pressing the like button, and don't hesitate also to share any thoughts, feedback, also requests for things you'd love to see in the future. We are slowly but surely making progress in this save, hoping to spend more time on it. But yeah, hope you're liking it and hope to see you next time.